Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imagine two children beating each other in the street with clenched fists, violent blood spilling, both completely ruthless against each other. And suddenly, one of them completely stops fighting, turns around and submits entirely to his brother.
What happened? What changed this fierce child so suddenly?
The secret lies above. He caught a glimpse of his father watching them from the window. The moment he saw his father, he stopped out of respect and fear.
This simple example is the greatest explanation of how to handle disputes within the row of believers. You are not dealing with the people. You are dealing with the Lord of the worlds who watches you from above the 7 heavens. To understand the unity of Muslims realistically and without fantasy, we must place decisive lines that separate two major categories regarding the boundaries of the row. The first boundary, and the absolute red line. We must know that when we talk about the unity of believers, we do not include those who abandon Islam and reject the rule of Allah. Those who decided and settled their matter, saying, religion for us is just a personal relationship between a person and his Lord in secret, and it has no practical application or authority in reality.
We do not include these people in the unity of the community of believers, not from ourselves, but because they themselves rejected, peeled away, and stated, we absolutely do not submit to the application of this religion. The unity of the believers is the unity of those who settled their choice and submitted to the authority of Islam. As for others, our role with them is giving dawah, bringing them closer and returning them to the faith. But we do not expand the circle to include someone who rejects the authority of faith from the start.
On the other hand, look at the second boundary. I can never exclude people from the community of believers just because I have personal disputes with them.
This is where sick souls reveal themselves. A sick soul translates the principles of Islam according to its own narrow personal problems. A person says, look at that man. He parked his car in my spot. He took my right and oppressed me. That person took my inheritance. That person got promoted over me at work. Therefore, all of them are outside of faith and the community of Muslims. No, this is completely false. The field of religion, working for religion, and preserving the faith is one thing. The field of personal disputes is something else entirely. Personal disputes contain injustices, and injustice is forbidden and is a form of darkness, but it never removes a person from the circle of believers. For this very reason, the permanent obligation upon every Muslim inside the row is to forgive, pardon, and reconcile. The Prophet, peace be upon him, gave us the ultimate golden rule. Allahu fi awni al-abd, ma dama al-abd fi awni akhihi. Allah is in the aid of the servant, as long as the servant is in the aid of his brother. If you decide to stop helping your brother and abandon him over a personal dispute, that is your choice. But you have chosen to stop Allah's aid to you. Forgiveness has no limit, and grading pardons has no limit. A wise person deals with his Lord and says, "O Lord, I want you to forgive me for everything, so I forgive people for everything." But someone might tell me, But they are oppressing us. This is my brother, my cousin, my neighbor, my co-worker. They wrong me repeatedly.
To this, I tell you what the Salaf said. يا ابن آدم أنت وما شئت إما أن تنتصف وينتصف الله منك وإما أن تعفو ويعفى الله عنك.
O son of Adam, it is up to you. Either you demand full justice and retaliation, and Allah will demand full justice from you, or you forgive, and Allah will forgive you. You choose for yourself.
Therefore, the issue is that a person deals with the Lord of the worlds, not with the individual. Just like the child who glimpsed his father from the window and stopped immediately.
But does this mean that Islam came to dismantle the bonds of family, blood, motherhood and fatherhood, if they differ in religion? How did Islam engineer these relationships? And what does the famous proverb, "me and my brother against my cousin," mean in the scale of Sharia?
That is what we will learn in the next episode. Stay tuned.